So there's been a lot of questions about how to set up a table, get the ribs lined out first in the Jarvis boards, and we all know that there's not a whole lot of information on the Jarvis site, so figured I'd try to help you guys out a little bit. To start with, this is my table. I built this through a couple IKEA sawhorses that I've had for I don't know how many years. They're completely adjustable, which is nice. You can bring them up and down, so when you're glassing, if you want a little bit higher, it makes it a little bit easier. I like them at this height. It lets me work, and it's low enough where I can work on things, but high enough where I'm not bending over. If you notice, my table is marked 11/4 and 10/4 stripes. These are the positions of the cross sections, the ribs. There's two different sizes because I'm building two different size boards. I'm on the third board right now. You see, I'm ready to get it set up. And I will continue this video and show you how I set up the ribs so I get them perfectly square and lined up. Continuing on with the table, I will say there's a few things I would change. The table is way overbuilt. So the idea is between the cross 2x4s is so I can put 2x4s on top of the frame when I'm building it and put wedges inside. For example, when you're doing the top and your curving pieces over, you can use that to sandwich between. 2x2s would have been sufficient, and I'm fairly certain that a 1x side would have been just fine. The table's very heavy. It's not like you're moving it around much, but it is very heavy. The lines were set up by laying the center rib down after I glued it together the first time and marking all the spots on center, and then using a square to make sure everything was perfect. The only thing I would have done different here is I think I would have covered it with masonite or used masonite covered MDF. As you can see, when you pull the glue off, the hot glue, it sometimes chips the MDF. So I've redrawn the lines a couple times. For the 4 I'm building, it's not like I'm doing this commercially. I think it'll work just fine. All right, for display purposes, this is the number 3 rib. So the third one from the rear. And this is how I set it up before I glue them up with hot glue to get them in position. I use a square on the back side. What that does is you make sure you're centered on the line, and I'll show you how that works. The bottom is set down, it's centered on the line, and if you look this way, it's centered here. Yes, I'm just eyeballing it. I don't get a micrometer out, but it works fairly well. The blocks I'm using are called 1x2x3 blocks, I believe. Got them on Amazon. They're nice because they are machined to incredible machinery tolerances, so they're perfectly square, perfectly straight, and this holds it in place. As you can see, I'm not touching it until I can apply hot glue down at the feet. All right, continuing on with the rib setup. I'll show you how I get going. So once again, this is the number 1 rib for the rear. It's centered. You can see using the square, it's held up directly, perfect 90 degrees to the table using my 1x2x3 blocks. The feet are planted. They're centered on the line. What I'll do normally is I'll put my finger just lightly here to hold this in place. Put a good glob on this side and a good glob on this side. Let it set. Let it set a little bit. Hot glue dries pretty quick. Go around to the other side. Do the same to this side. Just touch it. You're doing is putting just enough pressure to where if you hit it with the tip of the gun, you don't knock it loose. I did try the last time I built a board, my second board, I tried using a little less glue, hoping to not chip my board when I pulled it apart. And what it ended up doing is a couple of pieces popped loose towards, I believe it was the bow where you have a big curve. And it wasn't good or bad. I don't think it hurt the board, but it just wasn't quite as secure as it could have been. That's the setup, and we'll continue on, maybe a different view as we go down the line. All right, so here's the final setup. You can see they're pretty damn straight all the way down the line. All right, another little trick I use because we all know that Jarvis doesn't bother cutting the wedges the right size. I'm not sure why you can't have closer tolerances on these, but whatever. I use these little plastic door shims. These are set up for leveling doors. You buy them they come in a pack, plastic pack. Spit that one out. They come in a pack and they are plastic. The nice thing is they're almost exactly the same size. So if you just put them about the even depth I should say, in there, it'll center up this piece right here and allow you to tack it in place with some hot glue. Some people don't want to use hot glue on this rib. I get it. On the centerpiece, this is the last piece that I use hot glue on. And my thinking is this: once you put the first center strip down all the way down here and you're glued all the way across these and here, it becomes one solid piece. You're not worried about glue popping loose. I won't use it on the edges. I'll glue the edges when I do those because I want it to be nice and strong. The centerpiece doesn't need to be that strong. Once you're gluing the top and the bottom together, everything's across. I don't think the hot glue is going to make any difference at all. And you can, comment if you don't agree, but that's just my opinion. And there's the final setup. No more hot glue. I will glue the rails on and then get ready to skin. Hope this helps. So a slight change of plans. I decided to go ahead and try to hot glue the rails on. Same idea. You've got, by the time you glue everything together, it's really not going to matter. What I'm finding is it's pretty rock solid. Put some beads inside here. The big thing is you get these things centered on the holes because we know there's a lot of slop in the holes. You'll have to clamp it for a few seconds before the glue dries and everything stays centered. Just my thought. Once again, think it's different, think it's not going to work, let me know. Drop a comment down below.